what really bothers me is not that per se. It's the 1 million young people that are in fact struggling to either find work or meaningful work in their future careers. If you look at youth underemployment, it's a significant number, 20 plus. You know, and these are numbers that, when you peel away the reality of the situation, you see. Ontario is a subset of these numbers, and it's not any prettier. In fact, it's worse. There's the decline in the overall manufacturing sector, double point reduction, and this is only since the crash in 2008. It stayed down, and it's down for a while. Now you say, well, aerospace is up, but the numbers really don't show that, although I think there's been an upturn in aerospace. The aerospace area is the only one that's seen an upturn in GDP, but it's argumentative as to whether there's actually more jobs being generated because of it. All the others are down or flat. There's no growth in the manufacturing sectors anywhere in Canada. The other issue is it's not difficult to see why service jobs don't grow when you don't have a manufacturing job to rub against it. Because one manufacturing job will create about 3 service jobs. So you have no manufacturing jobs, how do you grow service? It just doesn't. So you question whether globalized manufacturing as a model makes any sense, and I'm going to pursue that. And I'm going to tell you that we've done some looking at globalized manufacturing in a lean and green way, and I'm going to describe that to you. So here's the 2 forms of trade model. Global supply chains, where we move materials and product around, and a more localized trade block, where we move it over less distances inside a smaller consumption cycle. So here's the global one, long supply chain. So there's, also when you give an emerging economy work to do, they'll damage themselves or hurt themselves, and it's an unsafe situation. We've had a few disasters already. They're not good at manufacturing yet, and they're putting them in jeopardy by asking them to do that. There's the ships I mentioned, moving the stuff around, long supply chains, resources being taken from one country, fed through a low-cost hub, labor-wise, and then sent back. Cost drivers are here. These are real numbers. That's what it takes to be part of a supply chain. And the process, very simple process, flowing right. That's what it's taking right now, and that's a very expensive supply chain. That's with what's low right now in our economy. Interest rates. If interest rates go back up to what we would hope to be a more normalized level, this is going to become a very expensive track in terms of the cost of inventory and the cost of transportation. And so a lot of the corporate minds are now looking at, what if interest rates go back up? Can we support and sustain this kind of a global supply chain? And the answer is, in some cases, no. So it's unsustainable in a lot of people's minds if we have a more balanced level of... we ran the numbers on these 2 models. Boston Consulting Group, I was in China for 5 years, we saw that. We ran some real numbers. This is kind of some of the work that was done. Taking a look at offshore and comparing to local manufacturing, adding in the transportation and so on. If you take a look at factory costs, I'll go quick here, and you look at the cost of local factory, this is standard material overhead direct, and compare it to offshore 2011, there's, if you don't add anything on, door to door, or from door, comparing door to door, there's a 25-30 point advantage. Has to be. There's less structural overhead costs because of the labor rates. Start adding in transportation and duty, add in the other hidden costs, which are now being better calculated than when we first started the globalization journey, and you end up with only a 10% advantage. Now take a look at the future in 2015, which is the outlook, and add where China's going and the other emerging economies are going and where our own exchange rate's going, which is in the right direction. And we're going to end up with this differential, a tipping point. This is US numbers, by the way. Not Canadian numbers, they're US numbers. So a lot of people are saying now we've got a reshoring opportunity for the next generation of product. Not everything, but certain stuff fits a certain envelope. Our biggest risk for me is food. I think food is going in the wrong direction. I see food continuously being eroded in North America away. And when you start taking your food offshore... Because what this is, if you look at it, all right, it's a bunch of ships revolving around the globe, moving material from one country, grabbing low-cost labor from another and sending it somewhere else to be consumed. Right? In these things. These waste machines. There's no manufacturing done on these puppies at all. This is just to move the stuff around. Okay? This is a very expensive use of low-grade bunker fuel. And by the way, None of this stuff on here is adding any value from an inventory point of view. It's pure inventory add as far as your global supply chain is concerned, intrinsically. Okay? However well you logistically manage that inventory, it's still waste of inventory. Also to know that we talk about green cars and I laugh, because if you look at the numbers, there's 90,000 of these puppies out there moving around the globe. And a single container ship emits the pollutants equivalent to 50 million cars. And if you take the total number of ships, it's 6 times the total number of cars in the world. So don't give me this crap about green cars, because we're making green cars and sending the parts back from China in one of these. So this is not working for me. You know? So we got to work on the fact this is waste in all kinds of ways. It's environmental waste as well as business waste as well as economic waste, because of the rarity of the availability of that skill. Exactly. So these numbers are kind of like average for a plant footprint of a certain size. They're indications, and what the indication is that it really was written around saying the dollar is not helping us get to the middle of the pack. So the dollar coming down does a lot of work. That's what all the auto leaders have been telling us. You know, your dollar's killing you, your labor rates are killing you, but you know, we all know we've got a slightly different economy in terms of labor costs. We don't have right-to-work states like in the U.S. South, which are probably underwater in terms of the value of the labor they're charging. So, you know, they're probably charging lower than they really should, but that's the local government trying to drive the business there, and then when they got it, there'll be escalation again. This is a game that's being played, but you gotta realize that's what's happening right now. So no wonder we got stress in the capital allocations. Yes, sir.
Can you please add China there on the labor to have an idea to compare also with China?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, how much is China?
Comparative, you go to GM Shanghai, which is...
No, how much is per hour?
How much, I'm going to tell you, GM Shanghai, right? I probably around about 11. So, you know, we got to realize that we're in NAFTA. If you now say, okay, reshoring's happening, you know, the globalized manufacturing is beginning to come out of fashion. Where's the action? It's NAFTA. We have to go back and look at ourselves and include these guys in our thinking. So from a business leader, I'm going to think about 3 countries and where I'm going to put my next plant and where my customers are. This is it. So this stuff about Europe, forget it. You know, this is where it's at if we're really serious about manufacturing.